Hello y'all, nice day today for painting. Glad y'all made it. Come on in, we're fixing to start painting the cabin. I'm very excited about it. Couldn't wait to get y'all on here with me. Let's do this. Alright, so this is my cabin. Finally got to it. It's time to start. You can see where I'm going to hit a few details on these bottom trees right here and show y'all the negative parts of the tree like we was talking about on the last video. Excuse me. You'll get to see some of that. I'm going to work on some of this tree, but mostly we're going to try to play with this building, the cabin, and I'm going to work on this tree and show y'all some highlights. I don't usually start adding my limbs and stuff until I get all my foliage kind of how I like it, then y'all start sliding some in there. That'll be on another video, but right now let's get to work. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to be using Prussian, a little bit of Payne's Gray, and maybe the little bit of, well, let me get some out. I got to get my, well, we can go ahead and rough it in. This is my darks I like to use. As you can see, I haven't done this roof part right here yet. So we're going to go ahead and rough this in. And the brush I'm using, I call it a cutter brush, but that's just my terminology for it. It's for cutting in lines, anything with a sharp line and stuff. It's really good for filling and stuff. But what it is, it's a detailed bristled brush. That's what it is. It's a fine brush. So we'll get into the gist of the brushes later, but it's one of my nicer brushes I like to use. I can really box things in with it, draw a straight line and stuff. So as you can see, I come up here and I'm having to work around a camera. I'm still getting used to this, y'all. A little bit different for me, but it's getting better. A little better here and there. If I get a little bit off, there's nothing I can't clean it up with. You know, a little bit of foliage, whatever, you know. When I cut in I always work the inside of my paintings most of the time. So when like where this went over right here, I cut all that in later. So no worries. Main thing you want to do is just start roughing that paint in. And I use different angles as I slice through the paint. Just trying to basically fill it in. But I need to get me some white paint here. Can't believe I didn't get that out. But we got it just the same. We're going to get this. Sorry about the delay here. See if I can squeeze some out. I'm actually using gesso, which is board preparation, but I love to use gesso. It works really good with acrylics. It's one of my secrets I'm giving away here, but it's really important if you're going to paint with me. So now I'm going to start putting in some shingle work. As you can see, I've already got it lined out pretty much the way I want. And I'm going to start coming here, and I can see might be a little more bluer on the tint that I want. So I'm going to come in here with some Payne's Gray, tone these colors down, but I love that blue. I've always liked to use Prussian to get that gray effect, and that little bit of blue really shows up in your highlights and everything. But you got to be careful because you can get it a little bit too blue. But at this point it's early, and as you can see, these shingles, they have to run with this roof at an angle. So as I cut them in, that's way too blue, so let's tone that down some more. Got a little happy. Like I said, art is a constant. You're constantly working like a sculptor, and you just keep knocking through it. Now what I'm doing is I don't want anything to look perfect. It's an old cabin, so I'm just going to throw it on here like this, but I'm keeping my angles sliced like that. And if you've seen any of my shingles, you understand what I'm saying here. I'm going to keep toning this down a little bit. Still a little too light. So I'll make my adjustments. I'll let that dry a little bit up there. Kind of go over these. I can tone them down as I go. I'm not worried about being straight so much as I am just giving it a mixture, a certain kind of look. Just want to kind of rough it in. So that gave it a little bit of a tone down. And I know y'all haven't seen it yet because we're just getting started making these videos, but I do a lot of different things, a lot of layers. I do what I call it's a wash. They call it a wash. Most artists call it a wash. There we go. Now we're starting to get where I want to get. And the colors will mellow out in a little bit. But right now we're starting to just get that, we're just tapping that shingle look. But back to the wash, I got certain things I like to call stuff, and I like to call it a glaze, like a glazed donut. I'll just kind of go over them and glaze them. Clean this up a little bit. I got a little bit too much blue in it, a little too light. But you're going to see how I slowly fix these. But now these shingles are going to catch some light filtering from that sun through these bottom growths of them foliages. And I already know that. That's kind of the way I plan it. I like to play light on stuff. But as you can see, I'm just kind of getting that shingle look. A lot of artists overpaint this, or overthink it, I should say. But it don't matter. Most of them that I watched, that I've learned from, was really, really good at it. But I don't like to do too many things at once. I like to keep my palette kind of simple. There we go. Now we're starting to get in there. You'll start to see this thing develop here. And as you can see, I've already got my lines kind of marked out, so I'm just pushing them through there. There's going to be shadows off of them pieces and everything, so it's going to change quite a bit. I'm going to add a little bit of burnt umber in here, see if that can't calm that color down a little bit. I like to paint wood shingles on most of my cabins and stuff. I've just always liked the look of that rugged wood. And that's how a lot of them was made back in the day, just wood shingles. There we go. Now, that's calming it down a little bit. And when I start doing the darks, you'll see this thing really start to grow. Let's go ahead and throw some over here. This is a little awkward. I'm working around my camera. Makes things a little more harder. But we'll get there. I try to get the best angle I can. And like I said before, I've got more stuff coming where I can put my camera in more different places. I never knew it would be this much of a struggle to make videos. So for the ones out there making these videos and doing a good job, attaboy. I feel your pains now. Alright, so this is the back part. And you see I don't have any lines here. It's just dark, okay? So the first thing I do, I believe in like the top and the bottom. We got to keep that same angle. So what I like to do is cut it in half. So I look at this point and I cut it in half. So I'm going to call half right about in here. And if you're not exact, that's okay. You just want to be close. At this point, it's a rough in stage. So I kind of get me an idea, and then I'll cut that square in half. Basically, because I like to freehand a lot of my stuff. A lot of the things, like even this cabin here, is out of my head. I love to paint out of my head. It's more of an easier flow. I like to feel what I'm trying to do. And see, when I cut these in half, I can keep my angles a little bit straighter as I work. And like I said, this is just a rough, and it's the beginning of my shingles. And they're obviously smaller because they're a little further back on the building. And as I go, I start to lose them white edges where I drew it in, and I rough it in with white paint. That way I can paint these trees and get those roughed in without losing my building. Little tricks, and it's worked for me through the years. So, and as you can see, I'm just kind of leaving that dark underneath paint where I painted it in dark. And like I said, 95% of the time, or even more, I paint out of my darks. It's hard to do your highlights and then come back in and add your darks. Now, it is a back and forth work of art. There's no doubt. It's like I told y'all about the sculpting. It's back and forth, and you just work it. But now you can see, and I'll slowly start getting rid of that white line disappear. Now we got a little rough in on our shingles, so let's go to the top parts and let's get those roughed in. And I got to keep that same angle. Well, it makes it hard working around the camera. I ain't gonna lie to you. We're getting there. You got to do what you got to do sometimes. But I'm keeping that same angle on my roof by watching this bottom one. It has to have that same angle. Yeah, now we're starting to get a roof. And maybe it won't leak. I like to joke. My wife always comes in here and watches me. She likes to watch me paint. And I always joke about that. Maybe this roof won't leak, or maybe my dock, nobody will fall through it. You know, we got to keep things safe. Now at this point, I like to start kind of getting an idea of my lines. So I really need to get some darks back in here. And what I'll do is I don't draw a straight line. I just kind of do it the same way I did my shingles, and I just kind of pop it just a little bit. And that just kind of puts your lines back in there. As you know how shingles work, they overlap each other. You know, if you're a roofer, you know what I'm saying. You start down here and you work your way up with shingles, and every one of them, they just overlap. But then I'll just kind of come back in here and just kind of pop my lines back in there. Now, these might look a little bit fat to you because they are. But at this point, you're going to have bad shingles. I like to do old stuff, not nothing new. I love to paint like them old barns. I like to make them look rustic. So now you can see I'm just slowly starting to pop some dark lines back in there. Keep everything lined up. And just kind of hit it. Gets a little thick, that's okay. It's the first couple steps here. You can see where we started from nothing, and you just slowly pick away at it. We're going to kind of bounce around too, so I'm going to do a little bit of this because it would be a long video to watch every little thing I do come together. But that kind of gives you an idea of how I like to rough my shingles in. Get her going. Nothing to it. Now, so instead of doing the whole roof over here, I'll come back to that when y'all ain't watching probably, but I want y'all to understand the ideal of how I do shingles. Get a lot of compliments on my shingles, and I like to make them look good. So that's a pretty good little rough end for the first shot. Now I'm going to take some Payne's Gray, a little bit more, same color pretty much, but I'm going to do a little more highlight. And I'm going to come to the bottom of the shingle just over that dark. Get enough here where y'all can see it. So like right in here, I'll go just over it. Now I want to be a little sharper this time around, where I can, because those are smaller shingles, especially up high. As we get down here, they're closer to us. Now I'm still using a cutter brush. I do like to use my liner brush when I get to this part, and when we get a little more detail on here. But this one works pretty sufficient for now. Sometimes I get a little lazy. I guess one of my weaknesses, I don't like to switch brushes no more than I have to. So I'll get a little lazy. But it has made me a lot better artist working with brushes, because you learn, I know that sounds bad, but sometimes being lazy is a good thing. I'm going to show y'all how much more effective a liner brush can be and how much more accurate. Shouldn't be showing y'all bad habits anyway. They work for me. I've been doing it for years. But so if you come in here with this liner brush, you can be a little more tighter with it. And like I said, don't worry about perfection. You should already have a general idea of the flow and the angle of that roof. And that's what you really want to focus on at this point. We're going to get into that glazing too. That is probably the biggest effect of my style of painting. I don't worry about getting my colors so much right at this point as I do when I come back in with my glazes. And I know right now y'all say, what in the world does he mean by a glaze like a donut? It will be showed to you. Just keep following me. So as you can see, I'm leaving the dark and I'm going just over the top right there to hit them shingles. Just like that. And there's a lot of different techniques, and I've talked about that before. This is just mine. This is the way I like to do them. It gives me the effect that I really like. And art is like everything else, very much opinionated. And I've heard all kinds of opinions, trust me. Alright, so now you can see this area right here. Like I said, it'd take a while for me to show y'all every shingle that I'm going to do on here. So now I'm going to come back in here and hit the darks a little bit harder. I mean, I'll probably end up, when I'm done with this roof, 15, 20 layers of just playing with it. Because then you got to start making the individual cuts and stuff. But now as I get darker here, I don't want to just make a straight line like this. And I see that a lot with artists. They'll just get in here and they get comfortable. Keep picking, because every stroke needs to go towards what you're trying to do. And you'll see it grow as I work. You'll see some that won't look perfect. Like I said, I don't really I try to paint perfect. But what I'm painting here is an older cabin. All them shingles ain't gonna be just perfect. Plus they're wood shingles. Now the carpenter that built this thing, even though I'm the one that made it and designed it and everything, but let's just say the carpenter built this, he probably wouldn't like what I'm saying right now. And look, always y'all, have fun with your art. Don't try to be so locked in on everything's got to be just right. You'll never get anything done doing that. And that's probably one of the best lessons I could teach y'all in this video, is don't worry about everything being so perfect the first go around. Play with it, enjoy it. Art should be fun. Now I might have a different approach when I play sports or something, but when it comes to art, I have really learned to be patient. It's really helped me in my life. I think that's why God gave me this gift. I needed patience in my life. And this, I learned early on that if you ain't got patience with this, you're in trouble. You gotta have patience with art. Alright, now if I stay in this area, you'll start to really see the discipline and how it starts to happen. Now, another big trick to this, or anything that you're painting actually, when you get in here, what really tells you this side and this side, it ain't the center that really tells you they're shingles. I mean, I could come in here and do these cuts and start showing you. What really makes the shingles look like it is you have to give the visual of what they're doing. So see how I'm coming on the side, and I'm basically going to give you that visual of what a shingle does and how it slides up under the other one. I'm going to do a quick little sketch real quick to show y'all what I'm talking about. My students love this. I almost forgot. I needed to really show y'all this. So I'm using a chalk pencil. It does not hurt the art, but I'm going to give y'all a chance to see. So let's do it where y'all can see it real good. Okay, so if I've got two pieces, two lines, and then two more lines, this is going to be a piece of wood, like a 2x6. This is going to be a log. So what I'm saying by this edge being very important to show that it's shingles, because them edges is going to show the underlap of it. You won't be able to get that in the middle part, or what I call the guts of it. So watch real quick as I show y'all what I'm saying. So if I made this a 2x6, just a quick little sketch, y'all forgive me on the sketch. You have a 2x6 right here, just with the ends. And that was just lines. You had two lines for this one, two lines for this one. But now you have the effect of a 2x6 board versus a log. The ends is what shows everything. That is the difference in this and the center part. I mean, you can do all the detail you want in here, and that's nice, and you want it, and I will do it. But what's really going to tell your brain that there's shingles and being overlapped is this edge right here. Very important to understand that. So watch this as I start to hit more darks. You'll see this thing really start to grow right here. So I'm going to come back up here. I'm going to define a little more darks. And as I hit them darks on that edge, that's where I want to show you something. So I'm going to come in here like this. And when I get to that edge, it's like the ends of these pieces here. That's really going to tell the brain what's happening here. if you feed the brain information, it can also be deceived. So I tell my wife all the time, you know, people can deceive you with words. In art, everything's an illusion. Everything's really 2D. We paint in 3D. That's what we're doing. Maybe I said that right, but y'all know what I mean. All right, so you start to get that visual of a shingle. Now here's where the highlights come in. Very important, because darks are important, just as important as the light. So as I come in here, when I show you that cut, see, I can go under right here ever so slightly. I don't know if y'all can see it close enough, but next video I'll change my camera where y'all can get an up close look at it. But that starts to show what the shingle's actually doing. And there's a lot of time that goes into this, but it's so important that the lights show and lead them shingles where they're going under right there. That's the same as these right here. All right, so up here be a good place to show y'all again the same thing. So here I'm going to do the same thing. First I'm going to go ahead, because that's going to be a shadow. That's the lift of the shingle off the facial wood right there. So when I come in here and do the darks, at first you just go ahead and throw them in there, kind of get a leader, get it going like so. The highlights will really is going to reveal everything, excuse me. So right in there just like that. And then you can start to see where this connects to the roof. So I'm just going to kind of shadow it out a little bit, just kind of play with it. The details really start coming out as we work. It's just a growing process. As I start getting these darks in there, you can really start seeing that roof and them shingles really start to come together. And it's just layers and layers and layers. So over here on this side, obviously you can't see the middle part of the shingles. You're going to rely on your darks. And then I'll put a ridge cap up here too. And for y'all don't know what a ridge cap is, I will have a video that shows you exactly what that is. I love painting buildings. They're just fun. Any kind of building will work. But I love rustic buildings for sure. So now when we get that dark over there, I'm going to really focus on my darks right on that edge. Like I said, I really put a lot of emphasis, especially on the ends down here. So my corners, that's what I know I keep referring back to this like a broken record, but it's so important that y'all understand what I'm saying. This corner right here makes all the difference of what I'm making y'all see. And remember, as artists, we have to feed the viewer's brain what we want them to see. That's what art really is about. It's all illusion, and we have to make that brain understand what we want them to see. Now I believe in detail, all of it, but I really focus on corners. Any kind of corner like right there, that's going to lead the brain to see what I want it to see. I like to be funny in these videos, let y'all understand that I'm serious, but I gotta have fun too. I like to have fun with what I do. If I didn't have fun doing this, I'm sure I could think of 100 different things I could be doing, but this is where it's at to me. I can sit here and do this all day. That's what I do. Now, just to give y'all an idea, we're gonna do some woodwork too, but I'm gonna go ahead and get some darks up under here just so I can see that separation right there. It really lets you start seeing that roof right in there. I'm gonna come up under here on this overhang. Right up under here, that facial board is gonna be between them two lines, but this will let you start seeing the visual of where we're going. This is the overhang. So I'm just going to put some darks in here. Start getting it right where we want it to be. Now these paintings, y'all, I'll have 200-300 hours in these paintings. So understand, these things ain't done overnight. and I don't mind the time. When I get done, I like to sit back, drink me a nice sweet tea, and just appreciate what I've accomplished, and hopefully everybody else will appreciate it too. And they take time, y'all. There's no quick remedy. I've gotten faster through the years, but I believe in quality over speed, and it will always be that way for me. I'm sure there's artists out there that paint faster than me, and that's great. They doing good quality work and faster. That's what it's all about. I'm getting there. I've gotten faster, but I don't focus on that. I focus on good quality art. I'm gonna come in here. You start seeing this starting to come together. Them darks are very important. So instead of doing the whole thing, I'm just going to show y'all the emphasis on what I'm talking about, the main important things, and it's right here. Get this a little darker. As you can see, that's where a lot of your layers come in, is just getting it darker and darker and adding more paint. And as I add that paint, you really start seeing them lights come together. And it takes time. It's a building process, and we just keep chipping away at it. Keep chipping away at it. Get that a little bit darker where y'all can really start seeing that separation on that roof. Now for giggles, we're gonna go ahead and put us a now I like to color my that's just where I like to do that on these facial boards. I really like to color those. It might be a deep green or phthalo green, something pretty, or blue, or sometimes I'll just leave it wood looking. And right now I'm going to stay in the center with it and just kind of go with the gray. We're just going to knock that out right there. That'll kind of give us that wood impression, which I'll have some browns on it later. On these videos, it might be coming out a little greenish, a lot of this, instead of looking so gray, but it'll be cleared up. The more we put on here, you'll start to see it. There'll also be some videos where I'll show y'all about lines. If you notice, I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm not going crazy with them, but I'm not worried about a perfect line at this point. I do other things that bring them in straight. I'm going to go ahead and put this one on a little bit lighter. Tone it down later. Now I'm going to start adding some browns to it. The browns will just soften that color a little bit. And that's when we'll start moving away from that greenish feel. Another thing too, if you're just starting, now if you've been painting a while, you probably already know what I'm fixing to say. If you haven't, listen up carefully, because very important point right here. Colors around what you're doing, like these colors up in here, these oranges, they can change the visual of what you see here. I can show you on the palette where I'm using white and Payne's gray. Okay, that would definitely be a gray. But when you get to your painting, that same color might not look the same, and you have to make adjustments. It's these other colors that your eyes see, and for some reason, I don't know the science behind it, but I can tell you this. Every time I paint gray, I have to add so much browns to it, and even some blues, to have this color look gray. And it's the reds and the yellows and the oranges. They change the colors that you're actually seeing up here. Now, that's getting into something there, but it is a fact, so it's something we'll go into in great detail in one of my tutorials, because it is an important one. So back to this. Remember what we said about the shingle. So them corners right here are very important when I start doing these. And you want to slide up under that other one right there ever so gently and let them darks work for you. And you'll start, the brain will start seeing the shingle underneath it. Can't emphasize that enough. It's all about telling the brain what you want them to see. Then you start getting that effect of a shingle. Back here, I really haven't hit no highlights yet, But if I start coming in here with them highlights, you'll start to see that separation. Now obviously shingles take a while, but they're really pretty. Some paintings I choose to do tin roofs, they're so much easier, quicker, and they have an effect too. And as a country boy, I definitely appreciate that look. Alright, so the top, to separate from my sky and everything, I'm going to come in here a little bit lighter. Like that light's trying to outline the building, because we do got that good light coming in. And of course, I will be adding some oranges to all this when I start colorizing it. But right now, we're just going to kind of get that separation from our background. And this is kind of how I go about a good old rough in for a shingle roof. Now I got to put my dark line on that outside of this other roof. Come right in here like this. And as you can see, it starts really bringing it in. Now I'm going to start layering my shingles. This is all about a visual. And I will come in here and keep layering these darks as I go. Really starting to get that looking right now. Starting to get there. Just layers, y'all. It's just layers. Come in here and just kind of throw some more on here, and then we're going to start doing some woodwork. Show y'all a little bit of everything today. Alright, so that's kind of the main edges for a shingle. There's going to be more to this video, I promise you. Not this one today, but there will be more. Now let's start roughing in some woodwork. Show y'all kind of how I do that. I want a brownish old wood. So it's not going to change the colors too much. I'm going to start bringing in, and you can see I've kind of got an idea of my wood and where I want it. I'm just going to put a little bit of a brown tint to it. That will change and it will adjust as I go. I'm not worried about this underneath right now. I'm going to just throw some wood on here. So using Payne's Gray, burnt umber, and some gesso. And this Prussian right here, I just don't want to get too much of it. Use a little bit. Now all I'm really trying to do right now is go up and down, not really separating my wood as far as exactly where I want it. I like to do my lines last. I'm just coming here right now and getting a feel for my color. It is the back side. I don't see where I'm going to have much light on this side of the building. Probably a good time to get rid of my little drawings I did for y'all. I use what they call a gummy eraser. It's very easy on the paint. Erase is pretty good. I made sure I drew in an area where it really didn't matter. I'll just darken that down a little bit, and you'll never know they was there. That's gonna be, I always like to go really dark up under my buildings and stuff. It really separates the building. And then I'll have bushes. I love to put them pretty bushes. My wife said, you gotta put pretty. I used to paint a lot of pictures without pretty flowers and bushes. It was the guy thing, I guess. But I learned really quick that women really appreciate bushes and stuff and flowers and all that, which I'm not gonna get a whole lot of flowers with the fall season, but so just get an idea. Darks are very good for a painting. That's what, they're just as important. I hear people all the time say, well, the light's more important than the dark. I disagree with that. I think they're both yin and yang, 50-50. Because without darks, you can't know light, and without light, you can't know darks. So they're both important. So I'm just going to give a little shadow on this right here. And the way I do those, I can do transparencies. I use my water. You can get a feel of a transparency right there. It's just early on, so I don't really do that. I'm gonna add a little bit of sienna. I'm gonna put just a little more color in my wood. This is the dark side of the building, like I said, so it's not gonna get a whole lot of light. So this is where you really gotta kind of play with it to get them colors. So I'm gonna throw a little more sienna in there, and you'll start feeling a little bit of color, but not too much. Now this front side where that light would be hitting the face of this house, it's gonna be dark up under this roof. I can get some light down here. So let's go ahead and play with a little bit of sienna, and I'll start showing you. Because what happens, you start getting that cresting light to start hitting that building. Y'all, I'm telling you something, this is fun. I mean, it's gonna be on the door. You get that little more color. And unless that wood gets wet, it ain't gonna be bright, but that sun, that cresting sunlight, see, can play on this wood right in here. So I'm gonna give it that rustic kind of feel with that light hitting it. Just kind of throwing it on there. Now this corner is very important. That's where the light's gonna stop and go to my dark side of my building. So at this point, like everything else, that's where I'm gonna put my emphasis of light for my wood. I'll just draw more attention to it so you really see that difference. Then I'll come in here and tone it back down a little bit. It's just the building process. Just like that. Now you can feel that light on the front side versus the back side. Then what I do is I just come here and just kind of drop a little extra color here and there. Kind of get a little feel for that, a little bit more brown tint in there, more rustic looking. That's coming along pretty good. Now let's really deepen up under that roof so we can get that separation. This is when you really start seeing what you got. The more darks you can put in there, you really start to see that everything just starts coming together. Darks are very important. I just don't get carried away with them too early. I just do enough to keep me moving. I like to pick. I'll just pick and pick and pick. And like I said, I'm not worried about perfect straight lines at this point. I like to rough in. A lot of my students get ahead of me. I'm telling on them right now. I have to get on to them all the time. They get line happy and try to be perfect instead of thinking about the things they need to be thinking about. So as you can see, I would work this. Very little do I do to the facial boards. That's where I actually cut everything back in straight. So if I got into this right here like this, it really don't matter if I overlap. When I cut that in, that will be sharp. Now that's the part I gotta, really focus. So now I'm gonna hit these right here. We're gonna start getting rid of all that purple sky where I roughed it in when I started painting it. Out of paint. As y'all can see, now we're starting to get them darks working for us. And you can start to see that roof separation. I'm gonna keep coming up here. I just keep layering and I build. I don't like to get anything too dark too quick, so it's a constant building process. And I'm trying to balance my painting out too. And what y'all don't see and what you should do is keep this in mind. Always back off your painting. After a while, you sit there and you paint for a while, you get stir crazy too a little bit when you do it for a few hours. But always take a break, go make you some sweet tea or something like I do, and then come back and get a fresh look at it. And what you'll see is, oh, them colors don't look like I thought they was looking like, or oh, I overdid this or I overdid that. Get a fresh pair of eyes back on it. It's always good to take that little break. All right, so let's get rid of them purples. Don't matter if your color's exact right now. You're just trying to put more paint on here. Just rough it in. See them windows? I promise you, they'll be square when I'm done. Carpenter ain't gonna fire me that easy. Now these can get some sunlight because that sun's facing it. This is the facial side. There ain't much blocking it. The only reason this is dark up under here is because of our roof that's coming out. So I'm just roughing it in. Don't worry if you get into your windows a little bit, it's going to be all right. So I'm just playing a little bit. I don't want to get too dark because I want to be able to lighten these windows back up, because we're going to play that light like you see down in here. There's nothing really blocking these. Now, of course, there's going to be some of this foliage shadow play that we'll be doing. This is the back side. So remember what I said about these corners? That's where I'm going to show a lot of emphasis. So right in there, now you're starting to see the ideal. Now I'm going to throw a little bit of orange in the deal here. Just kind of play with it. Ain't got to be perfect. I'm just going to throw a little bit more of that orange on there. And that's going to give us a nice little difference in our shadow side right there. Just a little more like that. And we're starting to get there. Come right in here and just, it's always just constant playing back and forth. It's just have fun with it. Alright, that's not bad. Now let's darken this back side a little more. I'm going to use some burnt umber and some Payne's gray. We'll come to this back side. We don't want it just black. We want to keep the blacks where they go. We want to get that dark brownish look right up in there on that dark side, maybe a little darker. Shadows are very important. So we're fixing to throw a little shadow on here just to kind of give y'all an idea. Now I'm not going to lose this if I take and do a little bit of a transparency just to kind of get a feel of where my shadows are going to be. This has to have shadow. It has to block it. So what I did, y'all, this is a first glaze a little bit, if y'all want to call it, if y'all want to see that. See how you still see my shingles, and I can give it that shadow effect. You still see all the detail, but it's a shadow now. And what I did was use some water, and it's a feel, y'all. You probably won't get it right the first couple times you do these, but I will have detailed lessons when I start teaching my online lessons. It's going to show exactly how to do this. But obviously you'll come in here, those are going to be really shadowed areas, and you're given a transparency with that watered down brush. Now I haven't really got a lot of detail in here, so you might see it kind of go away. But at this point, it's going to be really dark up in between there because no light can really get up in there or travel. And then, of course, this back side right here, it's not catching any sunlight either, so it's going to have a tendency to be toned down too. Just might not be quite as bad as this back side. But those are called hue values. All right, now we're moving on. I'm going to put a little more dark back here just so y'all can see how it's going. The more layers you put, the better definition is going to start getting. The details start getting sharper, and it's just a growth. And like I said, that separation right here is very important. So I'm going to put a little bit of that brown. I want this to really show the difference in the dark side and the light side, and I just kind of milk it in there, and I just keep playing until it starts to look right. But giving that emphasis on that corner shows the light side versus the dark side. And that's why I tell my students, you have to build it. There's no way, or I don't know anybody that could do it, is to know exactly where your paint is going before you ever put a brush to it. There's no way. It's a constant building process. 25 years, if I've learned anything, I've learned that. So now I'm just going to start dropping some darks up in here, just kind of get a little feel for where I'm going to be going with my woodwork. I just like to kind of get a little feel and just play with it. It ain't hurting nothing. And y'all, we're going to have to cut this video because it's getting a little long. But I will be coming back to it. So thank y'all for watching, and it won't be long and we'll be making the rest of this happen. So stay tuned.